brute. Why did you bother? We didn't invite you. You're not part of our family, so get out or I'll call the police, my mother-in-law barked, gathering with her relatives for the new year at my dacha. A couple of minutes after my response, everyone ran away, dropping their slippers, and before you start, I will ask you to like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you and enjoy listening. The phone vibrated at the moment when Kira Markovna Savlieva was signing the last contract with suppliers, an unfamiliar number. She usually didn't take them, but her intuition told her to answer. Kira Markovna, a woman's voice with a slight Ukrainian accent rang out on the phone. My name is Polina Tikhonovna Grebenyuk. I, a notary from Podolsk. I have important information for you regarding the inheritance. Kira frowned. Legacy? She hadn't expected anything like this. The parents are alive. There are practically no distant relatives left. We are talking about your great-aunt, Zinaida Fyodorovna Mirontseva. She passed away 3 weeks ago. By will, you get a dacha plot with a house in Pavlovsky Posad. Kira leaned back in her chair. Aunt Zina. They saw each other only 4 times in their entire lives, the last time at the wedding of a distant brother about 10 years ago. An elderly woman with a sharp tongue and an independent character then gave the impression of a person who did not let anyone offend herself. Why me? She had children. There was a son and a daughter. But the will states that the property is transferred to you. Zinaida Fyodorovna did not explain the reasons, but insisted on this point. When can you drive up to complete the documents? Kira looked at her diary. Tomorrow she has a meeting with the management of the chain of stores. The day after tomorrow, check the warehouse balances. The day after tomorrow in the afternoon at 3 o'clock. That's settled. I am waiting for you at 23 Kirov Street, office 602. The conversation ended as suddenly as it began. Kira hung up the phone and thought. Dacha, district. In Pavlovsky Posad, about 100 kilometers from Moscow, she tried to remember what Aunt Zina had ever said about it. House. But all that came to mind was her contemptuous snort when one of her relatives complained about life. At 39 years old, Kira, she held the position of commercial director in a company selling building materials. The work required rigidity and the ability to calculate, moves ahead and never show weakness. She coped brilliantly. Suppliers were afraid of her cold tone. Competitors tried not to get involved, and the management appreciated her for the fact that she was able to knock out conditions that others even could not dream. Kira returned home late in the evening. Her husband Oleg was sitting in the kitchen with a laptop, typing something, not raising their heads. They got married 6 years ago after 2 years of marriage. Oleg worked as a chief engineer at production, earned decently, but treated money lightly. They had an agreement everyone keeps their own budget. The total expenses are divided in half. I got a call from the notary's office, Kira said, taking off her coat. Aunt Zina died, left me a dacha. Oleg. I looked up from the screen. That sarcastic old lady from your relatives? She is the one. The day after tomorrow, I'm going to draw up documents. Do you want me to keep you company? You don't need to. You know yourself you have rush jobs at work. I can do it. Oleg nodded and went back to his business. They have long learned not to meddle in each other's affairs unnecessarily. This suited both of them. The notary's office was located in an ordinary office building. Polina Tikhonovna turned out to be a woman of age, with a neat hairstyle and a strict olive-colored suit. Come in, Kira Markovna, the documents are ready. She held out a few sheets. Death certificate, wills, documents for the plot. Kira ran her eyes over the text. Plot of 12 acres, house 120 M2RO, bathhouse shed. Everything was registered in the name of Aunt Zina back in 97. And children will not dispute. Polina Tikhonovna pursed her lips. Tried. The son came the next day after the announcement of the will, shouted, threatened, but the will was drawn up correctly. Zinaida Fyodorovna was in her right mind. The examination confirmed they will not prove anything. Why did she choose me? The notary took another sheet out of the folder. She left a letter and asked me to give it to you personally. Kira unfolded the thin paper. The handwriting was uneven but legible. Kirochka. We saw each other rarely. but I immediately realized that you are one of those who do not smear snot in life. My children grew up as squishies. Everyone expects that someone owes them something and you make your way yourself. I respect such people. My house has been empty for 2 years since I fell ill. I don't want it to go to those who eat everything in a year. Take care of him. It's good there. Be quiet. You can think about life. Zina. Kira folded the letter and put it in her bag. It was a strange feeling to receive approval from a person I hardly knew. The signing of the documents took another 40 minutes. Kira received a certificate of ownership and keys. 2 keys. On one bundle, one from the front door, the second from the gate. Do you know the address? Please specify. Polina Tikhonovna wrote on a piece of paper, Pavlovsky Posad, Rosvet Garden Partnership, Iyas Street, Plot 71. Everything is simple there. Along the highway to the city, then follow the signs. The partnership is old, the houses are solid, the neighbors are quiet. Mainly weekend summer residents. Kira nodded, took the documents, and left the office. On the way to the car, I dialed Oleg's number. On Saturday, we will go to see the dacha. Will you be free? What's wrong with the house? I don't know. The notary said that everything was fine, but it was better to see with your own eyes. Okay, we'll call you tonight. On Saturday, they left early in the morning. The weather was warm. The end of May promised a hot summer. The track was free, and after. An hour and a half they turned to the Garden Association. Dawn turned out to be an old summer village with solid houses. Asphalt paths, well-groomed areas. In some places, apple trees have already blossomed. Kira checked the house numbers and turned into the 3rd Street. Plot 71 was located at the end. A high wooden fence, once painted green, strong gates. Kira inserted the key into the lock of the gate. The mechanism succumbed easily. The site met them with a neglected garden. Tall grass, overgrown bushes, apple trees, which, obviously, it had not been cut for a long time, but the house stood strong, 2-story, made of timber. Veranda, large windows, sloping roof. Oleg walked around the perimeter of the house. The foundation is intact, the roof does not seem to leak. The windows are wooden, old, but they hold. Kira opened the front door. Inside, there was a smell of mustiness and dust. The furniture is covered with covers. There is a thick layer of dust on the shelves. 1st floor, a large room with a stove, a kitchen, a bathroom. The second one has 2 bedrooms and another room that looks like an office. It needs repairs here, Oleg said, examining the walls. But in general, everything is solid. The wiring is old. It needs to be changed. Pipes, too. Kira opened the window, letting in fresh air. The view opened up to the forest. Spruce pines. Silence. How much do you think it will take for repairs? 500 to 600. If you do everything at once, wiring, plumbing, cosmetics. Kira nodded. The amount is liftable. She had savings that she collected to buy a second apartment for rent. But a dacha is also a good investment. They spent several hours on the site, examined the bathhouse, a solid building made of logs with a dressing room and a steam room. We looked into the barn, where we found garden tools, old furniture, and several boxes with tools. Let's put things in order here by the summer, Oleg suggested. It will be possible to come for the weekend. Yes, but first you need to call electricians and check the windows. On the way back, Kira thought about home. It was strange to receive such a gift from an almost unknown relative, but Aunt Zina clearly knew what she was doing. Her children really gave the impression of people who were used to living at someone else's expense. Rhythm, work, meetings, negotiations. Kira arranged with a team of electricians to come and inspect the wiring for cottage. I ordered new plastic windows, made a list of what to buy for the house. On Friday evening at their home, the mother-in-law showed up. Lyudmila Vasilyevna Krechetova was a woman of thick build with a short haircut and the habit of expressing one's opinion on any occasion. She didn't call in advance. She just arrived as usual. Oleshka, I cooked borscht here, brought it to you. Otherwise you probably eat dry meat. She handed her son a saucepan and looked critically around the hallway. Will you give me slippers, or do you have to trample in your shoes? Kira silently took out her guest slippers from the closet. Lyudmila Vasilyevna went into the kitchen and looked around. And how do you live here? The refrigerator is dirty. There are streaks on the stove. Oleg, I told you, marry a housekeeper. Girl. But no, Kira put the keys on the table, not looking at her mother-in-law. We are coping. Deal. Deal. I see how you are coping. There is dust, there are stains. My house is always in perfect order. Lyudmila Vasilievna, did you want something specific or just looked at the light? My mother-in-law pursed her lips. I came to visit my son, and you are here with your tone, always so prickly. Oleg looked into the kitchen. Mom, thank you for the borscht. Now let's have dinner. Yes, I see that you will have dinner. Lyudmila Vasilievna glanced sideways at the table, where there were plates with the remains of yesterday's dinner. Perhaps you are warming up yesterday's ones. Good wives cook fresh every day. Kira felt her inside begin to boil. She knew perfectly well that her mother-in-law was constantly trying to hurt her, to hint that she was a bad wife. Usually Kira. I ignored these attacks, but today my patience ran out. Lyudmila Vasilievna, I work from 8 in the morning to 8 in the evening. I don't have time to stand at the stove every single day. Oleg, an adult man who knows how to take care of himself. If you are not satisfied with the way we run the household, you cannot come. My mother-in-law gasped. Are you telling me this to your husband's mother? Exactly to you. If you have come only to criticize, then it is better to go home. We do not need your comments. Lyudmila Vasilievna blushed. Oleg, can you hear her talking to me? Oleg stood in the doorway, looking from his wife to his mother in confusion. Mom, don't. Kira is right. She gets tired at work. Oh, she's getting tired. And I didn't get tired when I raised you alone. I worked and kept the house and you on. I put my legs up and did not complain. Kira took the bag. Have a nice evening. She left the apartment without turning around. I had no strength to listen to Lyudmila Vasilievna's lamentation about what a sacrificial mother she was. Kira went down to the car, started it, engine, and went to a friend. Inna met her with a glass of wine and a sympathetic look. Mother-in-law again. Again? Why does she do this? Every time he comes and begins to find fault with cleanliness, with food, with what? How I dress. I've got it. And what about Oleg? Is he silent or trying to smooth out the corners? His mother is a saint. She cannot be offended. Inna grinned. A familiar song. I had the same story, until I put the question point blank. Either me or your mother. My husband chose me. Lyudmila was really offended and did not call for 6 months. I don't need ultimatums. I just want it not to get into our lives. Then set boundaries strictly. People like Lyudmila do not understand hints. Kira finished her wine. Inna was right. We need to act tougher. Oleg called an hour later. Where are you? At Inna's. I didn't want to continue this circus. Mom was offended. It's not my fault that she doesn't know how to behave decently. Oleg, I'm tired of her constant attacks. It's the same thing every time. He sighed. I see it. She is just so used to commanding. This is not an excuse. Tell her not to come back without calling and to keep her comments to herself. All right, I'll talk. Kira knew that the conversation would lead nowhere. Oleg did not know how to speak harshly to his mother. He always went for concessions, tried to please everyone, and Lyudmila Vasilievna took full advantage of this. Kira returned home late. Oleg was already asleep. She undressed, lay down next to her, and stared at the ceiling for a long time. Something had to be changed in this relationship, but what? Come on. The next week, Kira met with the foreman at the dacha. The team had already begun to change the wiring, took out the old furniture, and prepared for the installation of new windows. Here, the floorboards in 2 rooms need to be changed, said the foreman, a man of about years old with a gray beard, rotten, and the ceiling. In the kitchen, it was leaking once. The plaster falls off. Change. How much will this add to the estimate? 1,000 minus 50,000. The board is expensive now. Kira nodded. She had already calculated that the repair would be more expensive than Oleg's initial estimate, but it was too late to retreat. The phone rang as she inspected the bathhouse. An unfamiliar number. Hello, Kira Markovna. This is Valentina, a cousin, sister of Zenaida Fyodorovna. Kira tensed. Another relative. I'm listening. I found out that Zina left you the dacha. I want to talk, meet. What for? Well, why? We are relatives. We need to discuss some issues. Kira sensed a catch. Relatives who had not remembered you for years suddenly began to show interest only when you had something valuable. Valentine. If you want to discuss the will, then all questions should be addressed to the notary. The dacha is registered in my name legally. That's not what I'm talking about. I just wanted to advise. I don't need advice. Take care. Kira dropped the call, then blocked the number. It was not enough to listen to the lamentations of another relative. Who decided that she has the right to a part of the inheritance? A week later, an unpleasant incident happened at work. Kira discovered that one of the purchasing managers entered into a contract with a supplier at inflated prices. The amount was small, but the fact itself infuriated. She called the manager to her office. Igor, explain to me why you signed a contract with a construction company at a price 15% higher than the market price. Igor, a young guy of about 2 years old, hesitated. Well, they offered fast shipping. Fast delivery doesn't cost that much money. We have 3 other suppliers that are just as fast and cheaper. You got a kickback. Igor turned pale. Kira Markovna, I answer. Got. Well, they offered a bonus to sign a contract. Kira put the documents in front of him. Write a letter of resignation of your own free will, or I will write on the article myself. Choose. But choose, right away. Igor took the pen. His hands were trembling. After 10 minutes, he left the office with a statement. Kira called the accounting department. Igor Leonidov was fired. Calculate it today and find me a new purchasing manager urgently. She did not tolerate theft, even petty theft. In her department, everyone knew. One puncture and you fly out. It was tough, but effective. In the evening, Oleg called. Mom wants to stop by on the weekend. No, Kir, but she promises to behave normally. I said, no, until she apologizes for her behavior, I don't want to see her. You know she's not going to apologize. It is difficult for her to admit mistakes. Then let him stay at home. Oleg, I'm tired of this. It's the same thing every time. She arrives, begins to cling. I endure. I won't do it again. I got it? I'll tell her. Kira hung up. Ina was right. Boundaries must be set rigidly, otherwise Lyudmila Vasilievna will walk on her head all her life. Repairs were underway at the cottage, at full speed. Kira came every weekend, checked the work, made new shopping lists. Oleg sometimes. He kept her company, sometimes stayed at home with his business. On one of these visits, Kira met a neighbor. Tamara Ilyinichna, a woman of about 65, lived in the house opposite. She went out into the garden when Kira was unloading the car. Hello? Are you the new owner? Yes. Kira, Tamara, I am very glad that the house has finally come to life. Zinaida was a good person. It's a pity that I left so early. Did you know each other? Of course we all know each other here. Zina has not come for the last 2 years. She was sick, and before that she spent every summer here. Her garden was gorgeous. Kira looked back at the overgrown bushes. Now it's a jungle here. It's okay, you'll put it in order. If anything, contact me. I will help with advice. I've been living here for 30 years. I know everything. Tamara Ilinichna turned out to be a nice woman. She told me about the partnership, about the neighbors, about where it is better to buy seedlings. Kira listened and remembered. By mid-June, the main repair was completed. New windows, fresh wiring, renovated floors. Kira ordered simple, functional furniture. Sofa, bed, table, chairs, nothing superfluous. Oleg came to help with the arrangement of furniture. It worked out well, he said, looking around the living room. You can live. Yes. Now I'll take care of the garden. There is so much work that it is scary to imagine. Shall we hire someone? Let's see, maybe I can handle it myself. They spent the weekend at the dacha. Oleg was repairing the fence. Kira was clearing the thickets on the site. By Sunday evening, both. They fell off their feet from fatigue, but the work was arguable. On the way home, Oleg suddenly asked, maybe we will call. Kira glanced sideways at him. What for? Well, she's my mother. She is interested. Oleg, your mother still hasn't apologized for her behavior. Why should I call her? Kir, well, you can't hold a grudge forever. This is not resentment. These are boundaries. Until Lyudmila Vasilievna learns to respect me, I don't want to communicate with her. Oleg fell silent. Kira knew that he was upset, but she was not going to give in. At the end of June, something happened that Kira did not expect. Marina, the chief accountant of the company, came to her office. Kira, we have a problem. The auditors found a discrepancy in the procurement documents. Signatures on several contracts raise questions. What contracts? Marina put the folder on the table. 3 contracts with different suppliers. Everyone is signed by you, but a graphological examination shows that the signatures are fake. Kira opened the folder. The treaties were indeed signed in her name, but she did not remember any of them. This is not my signature. I know. Question. Who forged it? Kira ran her eyes over the date. All 3 contracts were concluded during the period when she was on a business trip. Then her deputy, Sergei, signed the documents for her. Where is Sergei? On vacation. I left for 2 weeks. Kira took out her phone. It's okay. I'll wait until he comes back. In the meantime, freeze all payments under these contracts. Marina nodded and went out. Kira leaned back in her chair. Sergei worked with her for 4 years. She trusted him, and he, it turned out, forged signatures and concluded left-wing ones. Contracts. The only question is why. After 2 days, it turned out why. One of the suppliers called and demanded payment. Kira coldly explained the contract was invalid. Since the signature is fake, the supplier began to threaten to sue. Kira hung up the phone and dialed the number of the company's lawyer. Prepare documents. We file a counterclaim for fraud. Sergei returned from vacation, tanned and relaxed. Kira summoned him to her on the same day. Sergei, explain to me why you forged my signature. He turned pale. I am not lying. I have an expert opinion. The signatures on 3 contracts are fake. You put them when I was on a business trip. Sergei lowered his head. I was offered a share. Suppliers promised a kickback. If I make contracts, I didn't think it would come up, so he thought he could get away with it. Write a letter of resignation and prepare for trial. I'll sue you for forging documents and damaging the company. Kira, wait, get out of my office. Sergei went out, hunched over. Kira called a lawyer and instructed him to prepare all the documents for the court. She did not forgive anyone for betrayal. The story with Sergei made a stir in the company. The management supported Kira. Despite the fact that Sergei tried to accuse her of framing her, the examination was on Kira's side, and the case was lost even before it began. A month later, Sergei resigned and disappeared. Kira hired a new deputy, a young woman with experience in a large retail chain. She turned out to be tough and diligent. Exactly what you need. In July, Kira installed a video surveillance system at the dacha. The idea came after a conversation with Tamara Ilyinichna. Neighbor's shed was recently broken into 2 plots later, the neighbor said. Tools were stolen, garden equipment. The district police officer came, but they did not find anything. Now all the cameras are installed. Kira immediately called the company that installed security systems. A week later, a team arrived and mounted 4 cameras. 1 at the entrance, 2 in the corners of the house, 1 for the bathhouse. Kira downloaded an application to her phone through which she could watch the recording in real time. She did not tell Oleg about the cameras. She just installed it and forgot. Extra caution does not hurt. At the end of July, a gardener appeared at the dacha. An elderly man named Vasily agreed to put the site in order for a reasonable fee. He worked methodically, without hurrying, and a month later, the garden looked completely different. Trimmed bushes, smooth paths, well-groomed beds. Kira, I came every weekend, sometimes with Oleg, sometimes alone. The dacha became a place where you could hide from the fuss, think, just sit in silence. In August, another trouble happened. Lyudmila Vasilievna called Kira directly. Kira, we need to talk. About what? Oleg said that you now have a dacha. I want to see it. Lyudmila Vasilievna, I did not invite you. How could she not invite her? I'm your husband's mother. I have the right to know where my son spends his time. Your son is an adult. He decides for himself where to spend his time. The return is mine, and I don't want to see you there. What do you allow yourself? What I think is necessary. Goodbye. Kira dropped the call. A minute later, Oleg called. Why did you talk to her like that? The way she deserves. Oleg, she can't just take and demand. This is my dacha, my property. I decide who to invite there. But this is my mother, and what? Does this give her the right to behave like a mistress? No. Until she learns respect, I don't want to have anything to do with her. Oleg fell silent. Kira understood that it was hard for him, but she was not going to give in. September brought a new wave of work. The company was preparing to launch a new direction, and Kira immersed herself in negotiations with suppliers. She spent 12 hours a day at work, returning home late at night. Oleg complained that they almost did not see each other, but Kira could not quit work in the middle. The project was important, and from his. Success depended on the annual bonus. On one of these evenings, Oleg asked, "Maybe we will go to the dacha for the new year?" "To the dacha in winter." "Why not?" "There is also a stove. We will heat up, meet the holiday in silence without fuss. See, there are still 3 months before the new year." "Well, let's plan. Otherwise, we'll go to visit someone again or stay at home alone." Kira shrugged. "Okay, we'll plan." She did not attach importance to this conversation. The new year was far away and she had a lot of things to do, but a week later, Oleg started talking again. "I was thinking maybe we should invite our parents to the dacha for the new year." Kira looked up from the documents. "What parents?" "My, Mom will like it. She hadn't been out of town for a long time." "Oleg," I said it clearly, "I don't want to see your mother at my dacha." "Kir, but this is a family holiday. You can't keep your distance forever." "Can, until she changes her attitude towards me. I am not going to communicate with her, but this is my mother and this is my dacha." Oleg fell silent, but Kira saw that he was dissatisfied. She knew that he would return to this topic. Lyudmila Vasilievna had clearly already brainwashed him with her lamentations. A few days later, Kiraino saw Oleg's correspondence with his mother. He left the phone on the kitchen table. The screen did not go out. Kira just looked and froze. "Mom, I'll try to persuade Kira. She's stubborn, but I'll find an approach. Son, this woman is completely out of control. She doesn't respect her elders. She turns up her nose. I told you, don't marry such a woman. Mom, don't. Kira is a good person. She just has a difficult character." "Character?" "She has a character like this. But never mind, I'll show her. I'll get my way." Kira put the phone back. His hands were trembling with anger. "It means that Lyudmila Vasilievna intends to show her. I wonder what she's up to." In the evening, she asked Oleg directly, "Are you going to invite your mother to the dacha without my permission?" "I was just thinking that you would persuade me or decided to do it behind my back." "Kir, why are you like that? It's a family. The family does not give the right to violate other people's boundaries. Oleg, remember once and for all, only those whom I invite will be at my dacha, and your mother is not included there. You're unbearable." "Perhaps, but this is my dacha and my rules." Oleg slammed the door and went into the room. Kira remained in the kitchen, looking out the window. She understood that the conflict was growing and that Lyudmila Vasilievna would not give up trying to get into their lives. But Kira was never going to give in. November flew by unnoticed. The work took all my strength. It became cold at the dacha, and Kira stopped going there every weekend. Oleg was also busy with his projects in production. In early December, Kira received a strange message from an unfamiliar number. "You have a good dacha. It's a pity that it is empty in winter." She frowned. "Who is it, and how do they know about the dacha?" Kira opened a video surveillance app. All 4 cameras worked properly. "The plot is empty. The house is closed. Nobody." She blocked the number and forgot about the message. But a week later, another one came. One from another number. "On New Year's Eve, we will get together with the whole family. It will be fun." Kira felt anxious. This is no longer an accident. Someone is clearly hinting at something. In the evening, she asked Oleg, "Are you? Did he give anyone the address of the dacha?" "Well, I told my parents where it was." "Did you tell you the details?" "Yes, he did." Mom was interested. Kira clenched her fists. "Don't tell anyone else about the dacha. Do you understand, Kir, what happened? No problem. Just don't tell me." She did not talk about the message. As long as there was no direct evidence, it made no sense to accuse Lyudmila Vasilievna. But the feeling of anxiety did not let go. Kira checked the cameras every day. The site remained empty. The house is closed. All be quiet. Until the day when a notification appeared on the phone screen, movement was recorded at the entrance. Doors. Kira opened the record. Lyudmila Vasilievna was on the screen. She stood at the gate and looked over the fence. Kira felt everything getting cold inside. It means that the mother-in-law has already arrived, looked, studied what she was up to. Kira watched the recording 3 times. Lyudmila Vasilievna stood at the gate for 15 minutes, tried to look through the cracks in the fence, photographed the house on the telephone. Then she turned around and walked to the car around the corner. Date on record, November 23rd. More than 2 weeks ago. Kira saved the video in a separate folder, then opened all the records for the last month and began to view in an accelerated mode. On November 27th, my mother-in-law came again, this time with some woman. They walked around the site discussing something, showed with their hands. On December 3rd again, now with a man. It seems that it was Lyudmila Vasilievna's brother. Kira saw him a couple of times at family holidays. This means that the mother-in-law was not just interested, she was planning something specific. And, judging by the fact that I took my relatives there, the plans were ambitious. Kira called Ina. Listen, my mother-in-law came to the dacha 3 times in 2 weeks. The cameras were filmed. For real? What for? That's what I don't understand. She knows that I didn't invite her there, and she conducts reconnaissance, dragging her relatives with her. Maybe he wants to ask for keys for the holidays? Ask. Lyudmila Vasilievna, she would rather demand or even do it in her own way. Then be on the lookout. Such people do not retreat just like that. Kira hung up. Ina was right. We need to prepare for the worst. In the evening, she asked Oleg directly, Did your mother come to the dacha? How do you know? So she came. What for? Well, she wanted to see. I gave her the address. You gave her the address knowing that I was against it. Kir, she just looked. What's wrong with that? Such that this is my property? I did not give permission to anyone to come there, not even to see. You're exaggerating. No, I defend my boundaries. Oleg, tell your mother not to come to the dacha again, otherwise I will write a statement to the police. Oleg jumped up. Are you completely like your mother to the police? If necessary, yes, this is my property, and I have the right to decide who appears there. You're insane. He grabbed his jacket and left the apartment, slamming the door. Kira was left alone. She knew that she was acting harshly, but she saw no other way out. Lyudmila Vasilievna did not understand. Hints, only tough measures. The next week, Oleg almost did not talk to Kira. He came late, he left early. They saw each other fleetingly, exchanged a couple of phrases, and went about their business. Kira understood that marriage. It was bursting at the seams, but it was not going to retreat. If Oleg cannot put his mother in her place, she will do it herself. 10. A letter arrived at the office. An ordinary white envelope with no return address. Inside is a note printed on a printer. You shouldn't regret it so much with your mother-in-law. Kira crumpled up the paper and threw it into the trash can. Threats did not frighten her. She had seen worse. But 2 days later, another letter came, this time with a photo of the dacha. On the back, there is an inscription, a good place for family holidays. Kira took out the phone and called Lyudmila Vasilievna. Are you sending me letters? What letters? The mother-in-law's voice was innocent. With threats and photos of my dacha. I have no idea what you're talking about. Maybe these are your envious people? Lyudmila Vasilievna, I warn you for the last time. Stay away from my cottage, otherwise there will be problems. Are you threatening me? No, I'll let you know. Kira dropped the call. The mother-in-law was clearly impudent, but there was no direct evidence that the letter was from her. On December 15th, Kira went to the dacha. It was necessary to check if everything was in order. The weather was frosty, the snow had not yet fallen, but the cold was already getting stronger. She drove up to the site and immediately felt something was wrong. The gate was ajar. Kira remembered exactly that she had locked it on the last visit. She got out of the car and carefully approached the gate. The lock hung intact, but the gate was open. It means that someone opened it with a key. Kira entered the station. There were no traces. Everything was clean. The house is closed. The windows are intact. She walked around, checked the bathhouse, the barn. Everything is in place. But the feeling that someone was here did not go away. At home, she turned on the recording from the cameras. On December 13th at 2 p.m., a man approached the gate. He took out a bunch of keys, opened it. Castle and entered the site. He walked around the house, looked through the windows, opened the shed. Then he went out and closed the gate, but the lock did not click tightly. Kira zoomed in on the image. The man was unknown to her. About 10 years old, in a black jacket with a cigarette in his teeth. She saved the recording and called the police. "Hello? I want to report an intrusion into private territory." The duty officer wrote down the address, name, telephone number. "Did they steal something?" "No, but an outsider entered the site. I have a video recording." "Okay, the district police officer will arrive tomorrow." The district police officer arrived the next day. A young guy, about 28 years old, in uniform. Show the recording. Kira turned on the video on her laptop. The district police officer looked carefully. "Do you know this man?" "No." "Is anything missing?" "No. But the fact of penetration remains." "Got it. We will record the application. If the person appears again, call immediately." He drew up a protocol. Kira signed. The district police officer left, promising to check the neighbors. Maybe someone saw the stranger. In the evening, Oleg called. Mom said, "Are you going to complain about her to the police?" An outsider entered the site. There is a video. Maybe it's some kind of neighbor? My neighbors are old women and summer residents. This guy is clearly not one of them. "And now what?" "Now I'll keep an eye on it. And if I find out that your mother is involved in this, I will sue her." "Kira, are you going too far?" "No, I protect my property." She hung up. Oleg was angry, but she didn't care. Lyudmila Vasilievna was obviously up to something, and Kira was not going to sit idly by. On December 20th, another unpleasant incident occurred at work. One of the major suppliers terminated the contract unilaterally. The reason is allegedly a delay in payments. Kira picked up the documents. All payments were made on time. There were no delays. She called the director of the supplier's company. "Evgeny Pavlovich, explain to me what the delays are. We have information that you did not pay for 2 deliveries in November." "It's not true. I'll send bills now." She sent the documents. An hour later, Evgeny Pavlovich called back. "Kira Markovna, sorry, it seems that we were slipped false information. You have paid for everything. Who slipped it?"
"I don't know. An email has arrived on behalf of your company. We did not check thoroughly enough. Send me a copy of this letter."
The letter arrived in 10 minutes. Kira opened the attachment and froze. The letter was. It is issued on the letterhead of her company, with a logo, with a signature, but she did not send this. Someone was forging it again. Documents on her behalf. She called an IT specialist. "Check your mail. Someone is sending letters on my behalf." The specialist dug into the system. "Your account was hacked 3 weeks ago. 5 emails were sent to different vendors." How was it hacked? The password was simple. "Change it urgently." Kira changed her password, set 2-factor authentication, then raised all emails that were sent on her behalf. All of them contained false information about delays in payments or termination of contracts. Someone purposefully tried to spoil her reputation. She called the company's security service. "Find who hacked my mail." After 2 days, an answer came. The hack was carried out from an IP address that belonged to an internet cafe on the outskirts. City. It is impossible to track a specific person. Kira ordered enhanced protection for all her accounts, but the aftertaste remained. Someone really wanted to harm her. On December 23rd, Tamara Ilyinichna called Kira. "Kira, you had someone there at the dacha. I saw the car last night." "What car?" "Silvery, similar foreign car. I stood at your gate for 40 minutes, then left." "Thank you, Tamara Ilyinichna. I will check." Kira opened the recording from the cameras. Yesterday, December 22nd, at 7 p.m., a silver car drove up to the polling station. 2 people got out of it, a man and a woman. Kira took a closer look. The woman was clearly Lyudmila Vasilievna, the man who came on the 13th. They walked around the site discussing something. Lyudmila Vasilievna pointed to the house, to the bathhouse, to the barn. The man nodded, wrote something down in a notebook. After 40 minutes, they got into the car and drove away. Kira saved the recording and called the district police officer. Penetration was recorded again, this time with a specific person whom I know. Who is my mother-in-law? The district police officer hesitated. It's a family affair. No, this is a case of violation of property rights. I did not give permission to appear at the polling station. Come, draw up a protocol. The district police officer arrived the next day, watched the recording, shook his head. Technically, they did not penetrate. They stood near the fence. But this man had penetrated before. I have a record. Okay, I'll fix it. But if they don't climb into the site, we can't do anything. Got it. Thank you. The district police officer left. Kira understood that the police would not help here. You need to act yourself. She called Lyudmila Vasilievna. I know that you came to the dacha. I saw the recording. So what? I just watched, did not touch anything. You have no right to appear there. This is my property. Property, everything is your property. Have you forgotten about your family? The family does not give the right to violate other people's boundaries. Lyudmila Vasilievna, I warn you for the last time. If you are still, if you show up, I'll sue you. Give it a shot. Let's see who wins. Lyudmila Vasilievna dropped the call. Kira clenched her fists. The mother-in-law was clearly not going to back down. On December 25th, Kira went on a business trip. It was necessary to meet with suppliers in Nizhny Novgorod to discuss the terms of contracts for the next year. Trip was planned back in November, and it could not be canceled. Oleg remained in Moscow. It was supposed to work until, on the 29th, then a few days off. Kira left with a heavy feeling. Something told me that leaving Oleg alone was a bad idea, but there was no choice. In Nizhny Novgorod, the meetings were successful. Suppliers agreed to the new conditions, signed preliminary contracts. Kira returned to the hotel satisfied. In the evening, she checked the cameras at the dacha. Everything is calm. The plot is empty. The house is closed. The next day, she spent the whole day in negotiations. In the evening, I checked the cameras again. Again, everything is calm. On December 27th, she finished all her business and was going to return to Moscow. The flight was late, at 11 p.m. before the plane. There were still 3 hours left. Kira decided to check the cameras again, opened the app, and froze. On the screen was 4 cars parked at her property. The light was burning in the windows of the house. People were walking in the yard. Kira zoomed in on the image. Lyudmila Vasilievna was standing on the porch and talking about something with a man. Several more people were sitting next to me at a table, which had obviously been taken out of the house. They arranged a holiday at her dacha without her permission. Kira felt everything boiling inside. She opened the entry for the day. At 2 p.m., the first car arrived. From it, Lyudmila Vasilievna and a man with the keys came out. They opened the gate and entered the site. Then more cars arrived. People unloaded bags, packages, brought them into the house. Someone was heating the stove. Someone was laying the table. By 6 p.m., there were 12 people on the site. They walked around the house as if it were their own. Lyudmila Vasilievna commanded, showed what and where to put it. Kira dialed Oleg's number. Reset. Again, reset. She wrote a message. Your mother has seized my dacha. Answer immediately. There was no answer. Kira looked at her watch. An hour to the plane. If he has time, he will fly to Moscow at night. There is another hour-and-a-half drive to the dacha, so he will be there at 3 in the morning. She took her bag and ran out of the hotel. Taxi to the airport, check in. Everything is automatic. On the plane, she checked the cameras again. The celebration is in full swing. The table is set. People are eating, drinking, laughing. Lyudmila Vasilievna sits at the head of the table like a hostess. Kira saved all the notes for the day, every minute. This will be proof of it. The plane landed at 10 a.m. Kira took a taxi and gave the address of the dacha. It's far away, the driver said. Yes, I know. You'll take it for double the price. I agree. They drove along the night road. Kira checked the cameras all the time. People gradually dispersed to their rooms. Someone has already gone to bed. Sleep. Lyudmila Vasilievna walked around the house, clearing the table. At about 3 a.m., they drove up to the site. The light in the house was on. Cars were parked at the gate. Kira paid the driver and got out. I took out my phone, opened the call recording app, then dialed the police number. Hello. There are strangers in my dacha without my permission. I ask you to send a squad. Address? Kira dictated the address. What happened? I am the owner of a dacha. She went on a business trip, returned, and found that there were strangers in the house. They do not have my permission. I want them to leave my territory. How many people? About 10. Are they aggressive? I don't know. I haven't entered the house yet. I am waiting for the police. The squad leaves. Wait at the gate. Do not go inside. Kira hung up, then took out the keys to the gate. No, she won't wait for the police outside. This is her home, her property. She opened the gate and entered the station. The light from the windows fell on the snow. I could hear someone talking inside. Kira went to the door, put the key in the lock, turned. The door opened. She went into the hallway. The warmth smelled of food and tobacco. Slippers were lying on the floor, jackets hung on the hooks. Kira went into the room. About 8 people were sitting at the table. Lyudmila Vasilievna, her brother, sister, nephews, a few more strangers. Everyone froze when they saw Kira. Lyudmila Vasilievna was the first to come to her senses. Brute, why are you? Did you get stuck? We didn't invite you. You're not part of our family, so get out, or I'll call the police, she barked, rising from his chair. Kira took out her phone. Police, great idea. She scored 102. Everyone was silent, looking at her. Lyudmila Vasilievna turned pale. Hello, I am the owner of a dacha at Pavlovsky Posad, Rasvet Garden Association, 3rd Street, Plot 71. There are strangers in my house without my permission. I already called the squad half an hour ago, but I want to confirm the call. Yes, they are here, refusing to leave. There are threats in my address. Come, please, I'll be waiting. She hung up. There was a deathly silence in the room. Lyudmila Vasilievna's brother stood up. She's blimping. What kind of police at night? Kira looked at him coldly. You'll find out in 10 minutes. Lyudmila Vasilievna grabbed her bag. Get ready quickly. A fuss began. People grabbed jackets, slippers, bags. Someone stumbled, dropping a chair. Someone ran into the room for things. Kira stood at the door and watched. 2 minutes after her call to the police, everyone was already running to the cars. Lyudmila Vasilievna tried to maintain her dignity, but her hands were trembling. Will you regret it? She said, running out of the house. We'll see, Kira replied calmly. My mother-in-law's niece stumbled on the threshold and lost her slipper, grabbed it, and ran on. Lyudmila Vasilievna's brother forgot his jacket, returned, snatched it from the hallway. After 5 minutes, there was no one left on the site. Only scattered things, leftovers of food on the table, dirty dishes. Kira went out onto the porch. The cars were already leaving. The latter disappeared around the corner at the moment when a police car drove up to the gate. 2. Employee, a young guy and an older woman. Did you call them? Yes, I am the owner of the dacha. There were strangers in the house without my permission. They had just left. Do you have documents for the house? Kira took a certificate of ownership from her bag. The police checked. Tell us what happened. Kira briefly described the situation, that she was going on a business trip, that she returned and found strangers in the house that. They refused to leave until they realized that the police were really coming. Do you have video recordings? Yes, everything is recorded on cameras. Kira took out her phone and showed the recording. How the first car arrived, how people. They went into the house, how they laid the table, how they celebrated. The police looked carefully. Do you know these people? The woman who was in charge of everything. My mother-in-law, the rest are her relatives. How did they get inside? I suppose they had the keys. My husband could give it. The policewoman nodded. We will draw up a protocol. You can write a statement about illegal entry into the home and threats. Right. They went into the house. The police examined all the rooms, photographed scattered things, leftovers of food, and made an inventory of what was on the table. Kira wrote a statement, described in detail what happened, how her mother-in-law shouted at her, how she threatened. I indicated all the names that I knew. The protocol was ready by 5 a.m. The police left, promising to summon all the defendants for interrogation. Kira was left alone in the house, sat down at the table looking at the remnants of someone else's holiday in her house. Then she got up and began to clean. Kira was washing dishes when the phone rang. Oleg, what have you done? The mother's sob says you called the police on them, and so it was. They invaded my house without permission. It's a family affair. Why the police? Your mother yelled at me in my house, threatened me, threw a party on my property. This is not a family matter. This is a violation of the law. Kira, are you crazy? No, I protect my property. Oleg, where were you when your mother was going to my dacha? Did you know about it? Silence. Answer. She asked for the keys, said that she wanted to celebrate the new year with her family. I thought you would give her the keys to my cottage. From my property without my permission? Well, I didn't think you'd react like that. Oleg, your mother broke the law, entered someone else's home, arranged arbitrariness there. I have everything on video. I filed a complaint with the police and will file a lawsuit tomorrow. To sue my mother? You. For moral damage, for illegal. Penetration, for insult. I have everything written down, everything is recorded. Are you serious? Absolutely. And you know what, Oleg? I'm tired of you choosing her all the time. I'm tired of my boundaries meaning nothing to you and your family. So when you return to Moscow, you pack your things and move out. A what? Do you understand me? I don't want to live with a man who doesn't respect me anymore. We will get divorced. Kira, wait. She dropped the call, then blocked the number. There was no point in talking to Oleg anymore. Kira finished cleaning by 7 a.m. The house was clean. She locked the door, got into the car, and drove to Moscow. At home, she slept all day. I woke up in the evening, ordered food, sat down at my laptop. It was necessary to prepare documents for the court. She downloaded all the recordings from the cameras over the past 2 months, cut out the key moments of how the mother-in-law came to the dacha inn. Quiet, how she led her relatives, how an unknown man entered the site, how a holiday was finally arranged. Later, I made a list of witnesses. Tamara Ilyinichna saw cars near the site. The district police officer recorded the statement. The police drew up a report. By midnight, she had a package of documents ready. In the morning, she will go to a lawyer. Oleg came home late in the evening. Kira heard him open the door as he walked into the room. She did not come out to him. A few minutes later, he knocked on her bedroom. Can I come in? No, Kira, we need to talk. We have nothing to talk about. Pack your bags and leave. I won't leave until we talk about it. Kira opened the door. Oleg stood on the threshold with a guilty face. There is nothing to discuss. You gave the keys to my dacha to your mother without my permission. This is a betrayal. I thought she would just look. Oleg, stop lying. You knew perfectly well what she was going to celebrate there. You said yourself that you wanted to call your parents for the new year. I refused, and you gave her the keys behind my back. Oleg lowered his head. I'm sorry, it's late. I filed a complaint with the police. Tomorrow I go to a lawyer to prepare a lawsuit and file for divorce. Kira, don't do that. We can settle everything. No, we cannot. You have made a choice. Now live with the consequences. She closed the door. Oleg stood for a while, then went to his room. In the morning, Kira got up early. Oleg was not at home. There was a note on the table. He went to his parents. I'll think about everything. Kira crumpled up the paper and threw it away. It's too late to think. The lawyer listened to her carefully. Irina Konstantinovna, a woman of about 10 years old with a short haircut and a strict sand-colored suit. You have a strong position. Video recordings, police report, witnesses. The mother-in-law clearly violated the law. How much can I claim? Moral damage from 50 to 150,000. You can add claims for reimbursement of cleaning costs for the services of a lawyer. As a result, it will be about 200,000. Suitable? Prepare a lawsuit. Okay. Just keep in mind your mother-in-law will defend herself. Perhaps he will find a lawyer. The trial may be delayed. It doesn't scare me. I go to the end. Irina Konstantinovna nodded. Then, let's begin. We will file a lawsuit in 3 days. The hearing will be scheduled in a month and a half. Kira left the office with a sense of relief. The process is started. Now it remains to wait for the result. In the evening, Ina called her. I heard you've got drama there. From where? Oleg called my husband, complained that you were suing his mother. Serve, and for divorce too. For real? Are you really breaking up? Yes, I can't take it anymore. He chose his mother, I chose myself. I see it. Stay. If anything, I'm there. Thank you. The following days passed in a hustle and bustle. Kira worked, prepared documents for divorce, communicated with a lawyer. Oleg never returned home. He lived with his parents. On January 3rd, he received a summons to court as a witness in the case of illegal entry into the home. Oleg called Kira. "Why did you drag me there? You gave me the keys. You're a witness. You will have to testify." "Kira, I will not testify against my mother." "Then you will say this to the judge." "But you received a summons. If you don't come, there will be problems." He dropped the call. On January 15th, Lyudmila Vasilievna tried to contact Kira. "I called from different rooms." Kira did not pick up the phone. Then the message came, "Let's meet, talk like a human being." Kira answered briefly. "All conversations are through a lawyer." The mother-in-law sent another message. "You are destroying the family." "You destroyed the family when you invaded my house," Kira wrote, and blocked the number. A week later, a response to the lawsuit came. Lyudmila Vasilievna hired a lawyer, a young guy named Artyom, who, in a response statement, tried to prove that the entry was not illegal but a family misunderstanding. Irina Konstantinovna grinned as she read the document. Weak position. A family misunderstanding does not cancel the fact of violation, ownership. We have the video, the protocol, witnesses. They will lose. When is the trial? February 10th. Kira nodded. There was a month left. At the end of January, another event took place. Kira's sister, Lyudmila Vasilievna, a plump woman of years old, came to work. 60, with dyed red hair. "I need to talk to Kira Savalieva. A visitor to you says that this is a personal name, Tamara Krechetova." Kira went into the waiting room. My mother-in-law's sister was sitting on the sofa, nervously fiddling with her bag. "What do you want?" "I wanted to talk without witnesses." "I don't have time to talk." "All questions are through a lawyer." "Wait, Kira. I understand that Lyuda went too far. But why the court? It's a family." "The family ended the moment your sister invaded my house and insulted me." "She didn't mean to hurt you." "She is. She called me a beast and drove me out of my own house. This is recorded on video. The court will see everything. Kira, please, Lyuda will apologize, pay. It's late. The die is cast. Tamara Krechetova got up. You'll regret it. We won't leave it that way. Give it a shot. Let's see how it ends." The woman went out, slamming the door loudly. Kira returned to the office. Threats did not frighten her. At the beginning of February, something happened that Kira did not expect. Oleg came to her house with boxes. "I take my things." At last. He silently went into the room, began to collect clothes, books, documents. Kira stood in the doorway and watched. "Do you really want a divorce?" he asked without looking up. "Yes. Won't you even try to save the marriage?" "No, you chose your mother. Live with her." Oleg looked up. "I didn't choose her. I just wanted you both to be happy." "It's impossible. Your mother doesn't know how to respect other people's boundaries. She will always get into our lives, and I will not tolerate it." "So, that's it. 6 years for nothing. You did it yourself." Oleg finished packing and brought the boxes to the door. "Submit documents for divorce. I have already filed." He nodded and walked out. The door closed. Kira was left alone in the apartment. She walked through the rooms. Empty, quiet, no things for Oleg, no reminders of marriage. She sat down on the couch, and for the first time in all this time she felt tired. Neither pain nor pity, just fatigue from the endless struggle. But it was too late to retreat. On February 10th, the trial began. Kira came with Irina Konstantinovna. Lyudmila Vasilievna was sitting on the other side of the room with her lawyer. Next to her is her sister and brother. Oleg was not there. "Judge." I read out the lawsuit. Kira Markovna Savalieva demands from Lyudmila Vasilievna Krechetova compensation for moral damage in the amount of 150,000 rubles for illegal entry into a dwelling and insult. Lyudmila Vasilievna's lawyer stood up. "Your Honor, my client does not consider her actions illegal. She is the mother of the husband of the woman. Therefore, she is part of the family circle. The intrusion was not malicious, but caused by the desire to hold a family holiday." Irina Konstantinovna got up. "Your Honor, I have videos that refute the words of the defense." The judge nodded. "Provide." A recording appeared on the screen. December 27th, 2 p.m. Lyudmila Vasilievna opens the gate with the key, enters the site. Behind her is a man with bags. Then more cars arrive. People bring things into the house. They set the table, laugh. The judge looked on in silence. Lyudmila Vasilievna's lawyer was nervously rustling papers. Next post, 3 a.m. on December 28th. Kira opens the door and enters the house. Lyudmila Vasilievna gets up from the table. The sound of the recording was clear. "Brute! Why did you bother? We didn't invite you. You're not part of our family, so get out or I'll call the police." The hall became quiet. The judge looked at Lyudmila Vasilievna. "It was you who uttered these words." My mother-in-law turned pale. I was shocked. I didn't expect her to come. "That is, you confirm that you were in the house without the permission of the owner." "Well, I had the keys." "From where?" "The son gave it." The judge wrote something down in the protocol. "Does the court have the opportunity to question the son and the priest?" Irina Konstantinovna stood up. "Your Honor." Oleg Kreshetov refused to testify. He received a summons but did not appear. "Got it. There we go." Kira gave her testimony. Told how she went on a business trip, how she discovered the intrusion through the cameras, how returned and found strangers in the house. "Did you report to the police?" "Yes, there is a protocol." Irina Konstantinovna handed the document to the judge. "We also have the testimony of a neighbor who saw cars near the house and a district police officer who recorded previous appeals and statements about entering the site." The judge studied the documents. "Call witnesses." Tamara Ilinichna gave short but clear testimony. "Yes, she saw cars near Kira's house. Yes, I heard the noise. Yes, the owner called and warned." The district police officer confirmed that Kira had contacted him 3 times, that the penetration of an outsider was recorded at the site. Men that Lyudmila Vasilievna appeared at the house several times. Lyudmila Vasilievna's lawyer tried to challenge the evidence. Video recordings could be edited. "Do you have any reason to say so?" the judge asked. "No, but theoretically, the court accepts video recordings as evidence. They correspond to the police protocol and the testimony of witnesses." The lawyer sat down. The judge announced a break for the meeting. Kira went out into the corridor. Lyudmila Vasilievna was standing at the window with her sister. She was whispering something in her ear. My mother-in-law shook her head. After 20 minutes, the referee returned. The court decided to satisfy the claim of Kira Markovna Savlieva to partially recover from Lyudmila Vasilievna. Krishet of a compensation for moral damage in the amount of 120,000 rubles, also to recover legal costs in the amount of 15,000 rubles. The decision comes into force in 10 days, if no appeal is filed. Lyudmila Vasilievna gasped. Her lawyer was writing something down in a notebook. Kira left the hall. The case is won. In the evening, Oleg called. "Mom lost the trial." "Yes, I know. I was there." "Kira, this is a lot of money for her. Where did she get them from? Take? It's none of my business. Let him think. Will you really take this money?" "Of course, the court decision must be executed. Are you inhuman?" "No, I just don't let them wipe my feet on me. Your mother broke the law, insulted me, invaded my house. She will pay for it." Oleg dropped the call. Kira poured herself some wine and sat down by the window. The city sparkled with lights below. She felt a strange emptiness. There was a victory, but there was no joy. A week later, a notification came. Lyudmila Vasilievna filed an appeal. The case will be reviewed in 2 months. Irina Konstantinovna called. They try to delay the process, hoping that you will get tired and refuse. They won't wait. Then get ready for a new meeting. The appeal took place in mid-April. Lyudmila Vasilievna's lawyer tried to prove that the amount of compensation was overstated, which the plaintiff exaggerated. Moral damage, that family relations should be taken into account. Irina Konstantinovna coldly parried each argument, provided new evidence, anonymous letters. That came to Kira hacking her work mail. "We have reason to believe that the defendant or her relatives are involved in these actions." All events took place during the conflict between the plaintiff and the defendant. The judge studied the documents. Is there evidence of the defendant's direct involvement? There are no direct ones, but there are indirect ones. Letters began to arrive after the defendant learned about the dacha. Mail hacking occurred at the same time. Lyudmila Vasilievna's lawyer objected. This is speculation. There is not a single piece of evidence. The judge nodded. The court cannot accept circumstantial evidence as evidence, but the fact of illegal entry and insults remains. The decision of the court of first instance shall remain unchanged. The appeal was rejected. Lyudmila Vasilievna began to cry. Her sister hugged her. Kira left the hall. Final victory. The payment of compensation stretched for 3 months. Lyudmila Vasilievna transferred money in installments of 30 to 40,000 per month. Each transfer was accompanied by angry messages from Oleg's relatives. Kira blocked all numbers. Oleg did not call again. The divorce was formalized in May, quickly, without arguing about property. Everyone took their own. In early June, Kira went to the dacha for the last time. It was necessary to decide what to do with the house, keep or sell. District met her with silence. The grass grew tall, the bushes began to grow again. The house was closed, the windows dark. Kira went inside, smelling musty. She opened the windows, letting in fresh air, walked through the rooms. Everything remained as it had been left after that ill-fated night. Clean floors, a clean table, empty shelves. She sat down on the veranda and looked at the forest. Beautiful, quiet, but too many memories. Kira took out her phone and dialed the realtor's number. Hello, I want to sell my cottage. After 2 months, the house was sold. A young family with 2 children. They were delighted with the site, with the forest, with the bathhouse. Kira handed them the keys, feeling no regrets. She invested the money from the sale in the purchase of a 1-room apartment in the center for rent. Passive income. The work went on as usual. New project, new suppliers, new negotiations. Kira plunged into work with her head. This helped me not to think about the destroyed marriage, about the conflict with my mother-in-law, about the courts. Ina invited her several times, to meetings, to parties. Kira refused. I didn't want communication, fun, questions. She spent evenings at home, read books, watched TV shows, and planned work tasks. In September, I accidentally met Oleg in a shopping center. He was with a woman, young, about 20 years old, with long dark hair. Oleg saw Kira and was embarrassed. The woman asked him something. He answered without looking at Kira. They passed by. Kira stood and looked after them. It means that he has already found a replacement. Quickly. She shrugged her shoulders and walked on. It didn't concern her anymore. October brought unexpected news. Lyudmila Vasilievna was hospitalized. Stroke. Ina called and told me, heard from mutual acquaintances. Don't you feel sorry for her? Kira thought for a moment. No, she created the situation herself. But she is a person who did not respect me, invaded my life, insulted me. Ina, I do not wish her death, but I do not feel pity either. Tough, realistic. Lyudmila Vasilievna spent a month in the hospital. Then she was discharged, walked with a cane. Her speech was restored, slowly. Kira learned about this by accident from a conversation between colleagues. One of them was acquainted with Lyudmila Vasilievna's sister. They say she completely surrendered after the trial. My nerves could not stand it. Kira listened in silence. She did not feel sorry for her mother-in-law. Everyone gets what they deserve. In November, a letter came from Oleg, paper by mail. Kira, I'm writing to you because I can't tell you. You've blocked all the numbers. I want you to know that I don't blame you for what happened. You were right. Mom really crossed all boundaries. I was able to stop it. I couldn't decide between you. It's my fault. Mom is sick now. Doctors say that's stress from court-provoked a stroke. She will never forgive you. And I, probably, will not forgive to the end either. But I understand why you did this. Live well, Oleg. Kira read the letter twice, then tore it up and threw it away. She did not need forgiveness. She did the right thing. She defended her boundaries, her dignity, her property. Yes, the price was high, a ruined marriage, a conflict with her husband's family, loneliness. But she did not regret anything. December met Kira with a new project. The company was opening a branch in St. Petersburg, and it was offered to head teach